afternoon. Let's resume. If everybody can please open the labs and we can run it together. If you don't have a way to access this, I think most of you have laptops, so it should be okay. If you want to follow along, please open or launch this lab. What I'm gonna do is explain the lab, and we will basically just be doing part 2 of Libre NMS. As I said, if you are interested in understanding more or testing out different MIBs or IDs, then please run part 1 SNMP when you get a chance. But for now, we will do Libre NMS, which is part 2. Before that, just want to show you very quickly. This is a very simple topology that we're running where we have a host, which is the Ubuntu machine, and then we have 3 routers that it is monitoring. Okay, so we will be configuring mostly the host, which is this Ubuntu server, but we will also access router 1 and router 2 at some point later in the lab to configure them so that we have something to monitor. All right, for those who are new to the system, we have a resources tab that lists all the devices in this topology. You can navigate between them by going to or clicking on each one. Say if I want to go into iOS R1, which is our router 1, I can do that, and this will allow me to configure that. The other way is on top here, where I can select the resource again without having to go into the resources tab. All right, so that's a quick rundown of how to navigate this page. There's a lot more information here about the interfaces, but at this stage, most of the interfaces, IP addresses should already be configured. You can try and verify them just to make sure that's properly configured from your end, but otherwise, we will start with part 2. So this involves 2 things. One is installing Libre NMS as an RD tool, as an application, and the other is adding device that it can monitor. All right, so we will go through that steps. There are prerequisites, there are dependencies that we also need to install prior to being able to download Libre NMS. Now, very quickly, I think some of you are running Libre NMS, so you have been to this page. Libre NMS is here. So it's an open source network monitoring system. It was based on Observium, but they have committed that this will be like unpaid or free forever. They do have paid support though, but the software itself will always be open source. So what I usually tend to do is go into the GitHub page here, where I will usually pull the release. So we have these releases. And if I zoom in quickly, you will notice that just a few days ago, they have released the latest version, which is 24.5.0. This is the date of the release. So that's May something. So basically this one is May 19th when it was released. The last one prior to this is actually just last month, which is this one. So what you notice is they actually release new versions almost on a monthly basis. And then they specify what has changed, minor updates, major updates are all listed there. Now, what I tend to do, because there is an option to just always download the latest version. I don't use the latest version in production until I've tested it. So what I do is usually just set it maybe every 6 months, unless there is, say, a security issue, the security patch, then I need to update straight away. But other than that, I don't usually update on a monthly basis. So what we will do here is first update. When you're in the Ubuntu VM, open a terminal which is this one. Hopefully you can see it clearly, or I can maybe make this just slightly bigger for all of us to see. Okay, where is it? Can't see the font. Let me just close that. I can't see the font very well. But anyway, you have an option to just copy the commands. If you see a T in the instructions tab, you can actually click that, and that will copy the command in here. In some cases, just please double check that everything is copied correctly. Once in a while, maybe it's latency, I don't exactly know, but some of the characters get missing. So just make sure that it gets copied correctly. And then after that, enter so that it will run this command. This will just update whatever is already installed in this machine. To start it, we want to have the latest versions. So we'll wait until this thing finishes before we add new repository where we will be able to pull some other dependencies. So I will check this because this is now completed. Moving on to add this repository. This is a Linux repo, and then add a repo for the older version of PHP. PHP, this version is required, and we will also need MariaDB. So we will also download that after this has completed. Now here it says press enter to continue. So let's do that. So it will install. Wait for a little bit until that completes. So at this stage, we are still on the dependencies. Okay, we're not really installing LibreNMS yet. We'll wait for this to finish, and then we will download MariaDB scripts. Yep, that's done, so I can continue this. Let's wait for that one. Everybody following? Yes, all right. Hopefully you're actually way and more advanced than me now, way ahead. So next up is we are going to run this, make sure that we have the right MariaDB repo set up. Yep, it says it's okay, so we can continue and proceed with the next one. So run the downloaded script to configure the MariaDB repo. Whoops. Oh, end of life. Let me get back to that a little bit later and see. I thought I run this earlier today and it was okay. MariaDB repo. I think it's just the version, so maybe. Is there a new version that we can run? Are you guys also stuck in here? Yeah? Is there another one that I can run? 1 second. Let's see. That's the only host that we can run it to, and it's 1804. I'm gonna have to search that from MariaDB website. Sorry, just give me 1 second here. Please try to work on this on your setup. Or if you want to just wait for me with this one, you can try out the first part, which is SNMP. So this one should go ahead with no issues. So please try it out. Well, I try to solve this one. I run it this morning and I didn't have this issue. What if we just do apt install instead of that? I think we need the older version for this though. So So for now, I tried to install the latest MariaDB version. We'll see whether it will cause any issue. But let me just run the rest of the packages. Oh. See. Packages. Stuff happens. The one is installed. The rest of the required packages is not installed. A lot of stuff missing here. Try that again. Yeah, I'll skip that one for now. See what the effect will be. It will probably look for the package at some point during the install. But let's just go very quickly into this install. This is the part where LibreNMS install actually begins. The rest of the previous ones are actually dependencies, but you need them to be able to get this running properly. So I'm going to add a user called LibreNMS. The directory will be /opt/LibreNMS. So we'll be adding anything LibreNMS into that folder actually. So we will download into that folder and all of that. So let's go into the /opt folder. So nothing here yet. It's getting a bit slow. And we're going to copy the latest version of LibreAnimus using git clone, getting it from the LibreAnimus page that I showed you before, this one here. All right, so while it's installing, let's wait for a little bit. Make sure that all the files in /opt should be owned by LibreAnimus, user, and group LibreAnimus. So after this completes the install, the git clone, we'll have to change the ownerships. Let's wait for that a little bit to finish. Maybe I'll open another window. Oh no, actually that's complete. Let's continue. After this, I should have a LibreAnimus folder. I need to be user LibreAnimus to be able to go into that folder. That's why this is showing as permission denied. So if I do sudo su LibreAnimus, I will go into this prompt. I am now user LibreAnimus, and I can run the script to install the dependencies. I'm hoping this will go ahead, but because of our issue earlier, probably not. Yeah, install node dev. It's looking for the env, which is something we should have installed in here. So I'm going to run everything again and see whether right. I'm looking at the MariaDB downloads page first. See whether there's a version that we can use for this. If I go into this one, I choose Linux. Oh, Oh no, it doesn't show that. So downloads at mariadb.com. If I go to this one, actually, I don't see 1804 anymore, so I don't think I can download any older version right now. Has anyone managed to find an old repo where we can download this? Let me try this one again. Sorry about that. I actually did run this around morning today, and it went ahead. So I'm not sure what happened. If today is the day that they have removed support for 1804 or not. Maybe I'm just not lucky. I don't know. All right. This is I have that. This is still a clear force. And then let me just try the rest of the setup. What version can we run? .4. We're trying to install 10.5. 10.6 is here. We should say that now. .4. Yeah, no, 2004 is really the last that is supported right now. Okay, we need to make a call here. I should have saved my setup earlier so that I could have just shown you, because I actually have a running LibreNMS around lunchtime today, but I had to like close it to run the next one, which is the TIG lab. So unfortunately, we won't be able to probably continue with this until I find a solution, which might take a little bit of time. So why don't we pause this for now, and give you guys time maybe later on, once we have fixed the instructions and maybe the versions, you can access this LibreNMS lab again and try it out yourself. But essentially, I'm just gonna show you the steps quickly. Ideally, you will basically just pull the LibreNMS version, the latest version, from Git, and then install the dependencies here, which is scripts that is already part of the LibreNMS that you have downloaded. We will need a MySQL database here. So this is the part that we started MySQL, created a database called LibreNMS, created a user LibreNMS with this password and with privileges to access, obviously, the LibreNMS database. Once that is done, we had to make a few config changes on our MySQL. Particularly these two lines, change values using this command. restart MySQL, update PHP, some Apache 2 time zones here have also been updated. And then we configure Apache. We will create a file called librenms.conf, which points to /opt/librenms/html. Our server name is group30-server.apnictraining.net with all these permissions for that particular directory. And then we will make that live by adding it into or linking it into the sites available folder in Apache, right? And basically that's a web page that we will be able to access the LibreNMS app and then add devices and things like that to it. Usually, we also enable updates automatically, and we have a lot of commands that we can run with cron in Libre. So there is librenms.cron here that will allow you to, one, maybe if you want to download latest version, or two, you want to poll continuously at certain intervals, you usually should be able to do that. This one is the part where we are setting or scheduling basically how often we're doing all of those polling, etc. We have to create an API key to be able to kind of like open LibreNMS web interface to continue the installation. And so we have this API key. This is how it should look like if we were able to access the LibreNMS install. So the install continues. So we will have to do it from the web UI. It will automatically do some pre-install checks. And then you will have to add information about the database that we created in MySQL earlier. So that's adding the password mainly, because it already knows usually the user and password unless you change that. And then here we build the database. Of course, we provided the correct information, so you should be able to access the LibreNMS DB to add the tables and all the information there. And then in this part, we are creating the admin user. Once that's created, we basically just continue to validate the install if required. Now this part, some people do it from the web UI. I tend to do it from the CLI. So we can run, where is it? You can run this one, that/validate.php once you are in user LibreNMS. And that will list down anything that you need to change. If there's a warning, if there's an error, it will tell you. And it will also give you kind of like the steps or exact command to use to fix the error or the warning. So usually you will need to change permissions, LibreNMS permissions to be specific. Because whenever you download or you copy a file or you create a file into the folder, it's not always a LibreNMS user, but everything needs to be LibreNMS user for this all to run properly. So that's what we're doing. We use the command chown, change the ownership to LibreNMS for everything in OPT LibreNMS, as well as change mod. So who will have read, write, and execute permissions. Okay. Once that is done, you should have a UI. It will load. Okay. It would have been nice if we actually managed to do that, but this is how it would look like. You know, actually, there is a LibreNMS demo page from their site. So if you want to give it a try, that is also another way. And in that page, you should be able to add devices as well. Here, first step is to add device. We wanted actually to add, I think, this one, R1 initially, and then later on R2, and then monitor that, monitor the host, monitor the router, So we have a few devices added into it. And then if we give it some time, you will see the graph starting to have some values. It will propagate that. So that's the idea behind this. Unfortunately, sorry that the experience wasn't successful for all of us this time around. I'll try to look into this again tonight and fix the issue. And hopefully by next week, you can give it a go again when you get a chance. All right. Sorry about that. So any questions though about Libre, about RD, um, about Smokeping or Nagios? I think we do have, as part of this lab, we also have Smokeping and Nagios. So I think you can also give this one a go. Again, maybe in the interest of time, you can do it when you get a chance once you're all back home. But any questions on this topic? All good? Now, maybe we will be more successful with a TIG lab. Who knows? What I'm going to do now is maybe open up just the presentation on time series database. It's a very, very quick one. And then we can all start with the TIG lab, which should be linked somewhere here, right? So this one. But just before that, I want to quickly just introduce you to the concept of using time series database, which is kind of like the stack that is used in more modern monitoring architectures. So a very quick rundown again of time series database. RD tool, to be more specific, is already an example of time series database, all right? So it's not like a time series database versus RD tool. It's just that the application of the more modern TSDBs now actually together with, say, Elasticsearch, Logstash, and all of those other tools are very powerful in pulling large amounts of data compared to, say, RD tool. But the thing is, same thing, it is optimized for timestamp or time series data. So it's good for tracking information on an hourly, a daily, or a weekly basis, for example, or in our case, tracking network logs. When we model time series data, we need to be aware of the three important parts, which are your subject, what are you trying to measure, right? Is it the server status or any specific attribute on that server? What time points are you measuring? How often? What are the intervals? And what types of measurement reports are going to be output from this? They always come with a timestamp. So timestamp value on the monitoring server that will be, or where we're implementing this, is also important that is correct and accurate. So what databases are available now that is using basically examples of time series database? We will be using InfluxDB. Okay. In production, I have more experience though on Prometheus. Okay, I feel like it's quite powerful. It does come with its own web UI. So if you want some quick checks, usually when we are not monitoring, well, basically when we're troubleshooting something, we use it. But I find that the UI, the graphs, is not that user-friendly to some extent. So I would usually rely on other graphing tools. Say Grafana is very popular. If you're into, let's say, Kibana in the Elk stack, that's also possible. Timescale, OpenTSDB, and Graphite are also examples. I've used Graphite in the past as well. So InfluxDB, Prometheus, and Graphite, I think I have some experience using. The other, Timescale and OpenTSDB, not so much. So don't ask me too much about them. So usually they also come in kind of like packages. So most of these tools now, the powerful thing about them is they have ways to integrate with other systems, right? I think a lot of applications these days are API based. So they will have an API. They are able to have like plugins. And in TigStack particularly, it has support for multiple types of plugins, multiple types of APIs. So it's easy to integrate. So I think most of us are familiar with the Elk stack or the Elastic stack. But here we also have the Tick stack, which uses Telegraph, InfluxDB, chronograph, and capacitor. Or if not that, we use Grafana for outputting the information, usually in a graph format. Telegraph actually has a bit of that support already in itself. So it has output, so you can have integrate it or interface it with some UI. But usually we use other tools like these. Well, I guess it's more like if you're more familiar with them, but I think to some extent they're also more powerful. So this is what we're gonna look at, right? So these are your machines, whatever you're trying to monitor. And then we use Telegraph in this case to collect the time series data from all of those sources. It will be stored into your InfluxDB. InfluxDB also has kind of like a query language that's similar to SQL. So if you're familiar with MariaDB, with MySQL, actually the way that you do queries in Flux is very, very similar. So it makes it seamless to switch if you need to do that. And then Grafana, in this case, will be used for our visualization. Okay, so as I said earlier, Telegraph is actually quite powerful in itself. It has support for 200 plugins. It can pull data not just from your on-prem devices, but also can link to public and private clouds and many different locations. It has support for these ones, AWS, CloudWatch, Kubernetes, and all of those things. So have a look at what plugins you can install for like this is inbound. For outbound, if you notice here, we also have Telegraph. Because although in this stack, we're using Telegraph mainly for capturing data. So it's a collector agent, but it is also possible to extend that kind of like as an output from InfluxDB instead of Grafana, which is our choice for this one. You can actually also use Telegraph itself. Okay. InfluxDB is our purpose-built TSDB. It is, I think when it was first released back in about 2015, 2016, it was one of the quickest uptake. So there's a huge adoption on InfluxDB, even though it hasn't even reached its first stable release. I think it's 0.1 version. There's a lot of adoption to it. And it's also very, very flexible. Both Telegraph and InfluxDB is actually developed kind of under the same umbrella by InfluxDB itself. So it's very easy to integrate them together. Grafana is these days one of my favorite visualization tools. And I think more and more people, everywhere I go, any conference I go, I see Grafana dashboards everywhere. So it's actually very, very powerful and very user-friendly as well. So what we're gonna do is try, no promises until we actually run it, but try to, implement this in the lab. So again, this is Telegraph. There's some plugins that you can install as part of this. As I said, This is your InfluxDB, some information about it. I think just wanted to point out quickly that, as we said, it's optimized for fast storage and retrieval. I think we already said that earlier, but it also has support for high availability storage. So it's very useful for real-time analytics, especially if you have a lot of devices, IoT sensors, and things like that. The SQL-like language here is, I have explained, they call it as influx. And this is what Grafana will look like. Now, maybe very quickly, let's click on this one. This is Grafana demo. You can have a try. Make that a little bigger. If it loads. It's taking a little bit of time, so let's wait for that to go. But this is also another link showing the Grafana dashboards. So there are some built-in dashboards that you can, just like, how do you say, load or copy. But you can also customize the dashboard itself based on the information that you want to show. So it's actually pretty nice. Let me go back quickly on the previous slide, which is previous link, which is this one. I think with our screen, it's not very easy to see. This is the typical dashboard of Grafana. It's always been black. I think you can change it, but by default, it's using the black theme. But in here, you will see kind of like, if you're familiar with other graphing tools, with RD, all of that can also be shown in things like this in Grafana. So and much more. So it's quite useful. This is an example of traffic in and out of your network. Maybe your aggregate links can be put in a format or a graph like this. So have a play and see whether you find it interesting like myself. There's also Prometheus. As I said, I have more experience using Prometheus. There's always comparisons between all of these TSDBs. I think particularly InfluxDB versus Prometheus versus Graphite. So I don't know which one is better, which one you think is better, but you can have a look for yourself. This is the Prometheus demo. As I said, usually when we're troubleshooting something, especially when we have an alert with the on-call, my usual tendency is check check Prometheus alerts in the dashboard first. I think this one, probably can use this one. We also integrate Prometheus with both Alert Manager and Grafana as well. So if you're not into using Influx, it is also very much possible to integrate Prometheus and Grafana. All right. So with that, very quickly, maybe we can go into the lab. So these are just slides of additional information. So maybe, again, in the interest of time, let's go into, the link on the event page, which is this one. Click on this. I may need to close this one first. So if you also have yours open, please make sure to end this lab, cancel, wait for it to completely close, and then you will see it will show loading here until it's completely ended your lab session, the previous lab session. That's when you can add it. So another thing that I would tend to do is enable data center selection. If you notice at some point during our quick and successful demo, it was a bit slow you know, it's showing a bit of latency when I do ls commands. So what you can do is enable data center selection, and that will allow you to select either Singapore, North America, and Europe. You will think that Singapore will be the fastest because we're closest to it. That may be the case, but there are times when North America, because they have more capacity and everything, is actually faster. So if you find that you are having latency issues, please switch on data center selection, select a different data center. All right. So for now, let's keep it to Singapore, launch this lab, and then see how much we can go with this one given the time. All right, so let's wait for that to load. If you can also please do the same. Close the previous lab first and then do this one. Has everyone loaded it? Did you try it? Eh? Why is this? Did I click the wrong one? Let's close this. All right, let me do that again. Not this one. It was this one. All right, let me just close this one instead and refresh this. I'm human. Okay, so trying it again, load the TIG lab, and it should be log management and flow monitoring. So if you're curious, we actually have a lot more NMM related tools in here, mainly for log management. Are we using syslog? I can't remember. I think, yeah, we have our syslog, Graylog, and the syslog server as part of this. So you can also, you know, run those labs if you have time. I think that is the initial parts of this lab. Let's close this one. All right. Oh. So this lab has, let me go back here quickly. This lab actually has 7 parts or 6 parts. The first 3 parts is for syslog. Now that's part of NMM, although we are not going through that for this session. We also have NFDump and NFSend. Again, another subsection usually that we cover as part of NMM. But our focus this time is part 5, setting up Telegraph, InfluxDB, and Grafana. So you can click on that, and that will get you to the part 5 instructor page. So some information here about Telegraph, InfluxDB, and Grafana. The steps that we will need to do is the typical install steps. First is to update, install the required dependencies, install the software itself, and then we will install and configure InfluxDB, then Telegraph, then Grafana, right? Grafana data source will then be set to point to, should be InfluxDB, right, in this case, and then we will set up the Grafana dashboard. So fingers crossed. Let's hope this one works for us. 1 second. Not. Please try to load yours and start. I'm finding it interesting that mine has checks. So it's like I've already completed them. I've done this earlier, but I should have already closed it. So right now I even have a telegraph config already loaded. I need to close this and start again. It's okay. Let's just do it from here. But I think some of the stuff are already installed at this stage for my case. Okay. All right, so now I'm in the host 1, clear it. And then we are going to SSH into our Ubuntu server. Username is APNIC, password is training, and now I'm here. I'll do an update. Hopefully this is faster because I think this is already installed. But run the command get update and distribution upgrade. So to install, you will actually need the InfluxDB key before we add a repository where we can get the influx DB packages, right? So that's this part. So first we are adding a key, this one, and then we are going to add the repo. So I think in my case here, it's already here. So curl to download it from this link and then add it to the apt key. So if I open this influx key, so this is a public key file, all right? And then when I go into, let's say, source/etc lsb release, and then I think I already have that, so maybe I don't need to echo, but let me just quickly check my /etc apt sources.list.d. So, yep, I actually have both. I have all. I have influx data, influxdb.list already here. And if I open that one, influxdb.list, that's the repo, right? That's the repo where it's pulling that out. And that means you can now install, we're installing a few software here, but the important part is, of course, InfluxDB and InfluxDB clients, okay? The others are just additional stuff that may be useful to show or for editing, nanos for editing. And then we start and stop influx using sudo systemctl start, stop, or restart, and then enable it. Now check the status of InfluxDB, whether it's installed, whether it's running. I have a bit of lag here, so I'm just waiting for my cursor to move. And this one should be status. And you will find that it's active and running. At this stage, I think that's all you care about. You may want to also just quickly check whether maybe these are errors. I think these are just like small warnings. So it should be fine. But if you're worried, you can actually check the logs, what they're for. But at this stage, I wouldn't worry about it too much. So this is the part where we're checking whether, it says here that it's running, but is it actually running? Let's check with netstat and see whether it's listening on that port. So you will see here you have 8088 and 8086 listening on localhost and also on any IP, any port. And next is we are going to run the InfluxDB and do some queries. This is the part where we can add the database, add the user, yeah, basically those two. So I think in this case, it's already installed as well. Show databases. I have APNIC database here. Show users. Oops. Wait for a bit, there's a lag. Show users. Yep, we have user APNIC. It's not an admin, but yeah, should have a training as a password. All right, so at that stage, we should now have a working influx DB. So 1 out of 3, tick. Whew. Next one. Are you guys finished with this part? Yes, you can follow? All right. Next is installing Telegraph. So apt-get install -y Telegraph is the command, and then start and enable Telegraph. So I'm just gonna like check the status because I think in my case it's already installed. At this stage, again, it's active, it's running. That's all I care about at this stage. You can check what these are later on the logs, right? So this one is done. Where do you configure Telegraph? There is an /etc. So these are all the folders in the etc. There should be a Telegraph folder somewhere. This one here, /etc/Telegraph. And if I do cd, you'll notice that I've actually already moved the previous config into telegraph.conf.default. So it's typical if you want to change some stuff in the config file, it's by default, I would always copy it into a default. So I have a way to check back what were the default values previously. And if I need to roll back, I can do that pretty easily. So we have created a config file, right, using this command, or you can open up telegraph.conf and copy the contents of this. We have global agent configuration for host name for group 30, and how often is the interval. Here it's set to 15 seconds interval, and same with the flush interval. We have input plugins. Remember, we can have input plugins and output plugins in Telegraph. So here we have defined our input plugins. We have input CPU, some parameters for that plugin. We have inputs disk, again, some parameters. These are the file systems that will be ignored for when it's checking for disk. And then a few others for process, for netstat, for kernel, for system, etc. Right? So you can, in our case, we're just using these ones. In yours, you may want to explore other input plugins and add the ones that you need or require. We have only one output plugin in this case, which is InfluxDB, because that's where we're after Telegraph. The output data will go into your InfluxDB, right? So I already have that somewhere in here, telegraph.conf. So maybe just do a more command. This should be exactly the same one as the one in here, right? So we have the output and input plugins, and that's it. All right. So now we have to restart Telegraph. In your case, please run this command. In mine, because it's already installed, I'm just gonna do systemcpl status Telegraph. And I can also restart. I think it's fine. So let's try that. Yep, and then check the stats again. Still running, so we're fine. So test the Telegraph settings using this command. So you can actually have which Telegraph. You can run Telegraph from the CLI using this. So that's what we're doing here. Sudo telegraph, add the ---- test parameter. So this is only for testing purposes. We're testing the config that we created, right? That's the the path to telegraph.conf, and the input file here is CPU. Did I manage to copy everything there? Let's try. Yep. There's a bit of lag, so sorry about that. Ah. Do we have an input filter CPU? Yeah, we have an input filter input filter, yeah. So this is a plugin, so we should be able to do this one. Unknown command. Ah. It didn't copy this one. So I told you earlier, please make sure that all the characters are copied. Sometimes it's missing some. In this case, there you go. We have some output. So it loaded the config that we created, telegraph.conf. So that's the version. Loaded input CPU and aggregators, processors, blah, blah, blah. This is group 30, which is the host that we set up in the config file. And these are the output, right? This is CPU information, CPU 0, CPU 1. So yeah, we have some output for host group 30. What other information is useful here? Oh yeah, basically these are all just like CPU information. Now networks, if you want to change it, just change it to input filter net instead of CPU. Obviously, you can only select the ones that you've added in here as your input plugin, all right? So here are the interface information for host group 30. You have interface ETH0, the number of bytes received, the number of bytes sent, drops if there is any error, the number of packets in and out, speed, etc. So yeah, we have all of that. That's good. This last one to test here is for memory. So change net to mem, which is this one. So these are memory outputs for this. Available cache, available memory, available percentage. It says 96.89% is still available. Right? Yeah. Swap information is here, mallocs, etc. So it's a complete output. Again, you can run this using the telegraph command from the CLI. Questions? How many of you have managed to also complete up to this installation from your own? No? Why not? You cannot what? Install? Which one? Telegraph? Oh yes. Yes. Okay. Sorry. I fixed this earlier. Actually, remember this. Remember in Influx we have the the Influx data, Influx DB key. It used to be the same key for both Influx and Telegraph, but it's actually changed. So, what was the? Do I have that here? We'll have to look it up again. Telegraph install Ubuntu. I think it's somewhere here. Fine. So this one, this is what I copied. I think we're running 2004 for this lab, not 18, right? Yeah, it's 2004. So if you can please search for installing Telegraph, but actually it's in the Influx documentation, or you can quickly just do a Google search, install Telegraph Ubuntu. The first result is actually the link to the Influx website documentation, which is this one. I think what I'm gonna do is add this to the event page for those who cannot find it. So you can just click on that link. But it should be a quick search. Search it from Google. And then somewhere here, when you find install, the first one is already Ubuntu and Debian. And then this is the version that we're after. You can try all versions, but I think the one I used is this. Ubuntu 2004 LTS and newer. So do it one at a time. So first we are creating, that's why in my instance, you see that I already have influx data key because I've already done this part. So what I'm going to do is copy this, go into this page. Maybe I'll go back to the home folder. There you go. Notice here, I already have the influx data archive because it's the one we downloaded. But for your case, it's not easy to just copy and paste from another website to this. So what you do is, see this lightning icon on the top left. The icon on the top left, go into type text, type clipboard text. Actually, you can just copy everything and then put it here, but sometimes the space or the next line, it doesn't honor. So I kind of tend to just do one line at a time and then click OK, and that will copy it there. Right? And then sometimes you need to enter so it executes. So that will have the file. And then go on to the next one, which is echo the key into your influx data archive file, and then copy that into trusted GPG, and then copy or echo that into your sources.list. So once you've done that and copied that, again, make sure do it one at a time, right? So you'll have to do it 4 times for each line. Again, go into this lightning icon on the top left, type text. Oh, sorry. Again, type text. What's happening? Type text, type clipboard text, and then copy that in. Okay, and then okay. So, because I've already done that, I can probably do the second one, which is this. Copy that, go here, and then in here, and then okay. All right. Make sure that it says okay. So the key has been copied, and then do the next line, which is the GPG. Okay, and then the apt-get update and install Telegraph. Did that work for you? It's still not starting for you? What was it? Were you able to install though using this? It's not starting. Why? We're really not very lucky today, hey. Oh wait. What was the error? The Okay, let me try and finish this. So if you cannot continue, maybe just follow along. Let's try. Oops. Where am I now? So this is influx. This is this is telegraph, and this is the Grafana part. So again, apt-get install to install Grafana. No, this is just like dependencies. And then this is the part that installs the Grafana. Again, we'll need the key. We'll need to add the source in APT. I've already done that. /apt / sources.lists.d. So I have Grafana.list in here. So that's that part. And then to install, it's apt get install -y Grafana. Simple as that. I think this install should be fairly quick. Mine is already here, so I won't try my luck installing it again. But it should already be here. What I can do now is try to see whether it is running or not. Status, Grafana server. Yep, should be running. We can ignore the the warnings for now. And if you want, I can restart this, check the status again. Oh, actually, it's much better now after the restart. All right, so now that we have Grafana running in here, double check that the port the Grafana is listening. It's actually listed here. So it is listening on all IPs, on all interfaces on this port 3000. And then access the web interface. Now, for those of you who managed to follow up to this point and tried to load this, it's actually complaining. And it's not loading the web interface. But I was told that I have to download Chrome for it to work. So let me try and do that and see whether we can make it work. This is not sponsored by Get Chrome. Or oops. Accept and install. All right, just give me a second for this to complete the install, and let's find out. I think there is also a compatibility issue with Firefox and Grafana in this case. I've never had that issue if I'm running the latest version, so I'm guessing maybe it's because of the version that we're running for this particular lab. But if we manage to install this, let's see if we can load the Grafana web interface. So just give it a few seconds for the install to complete. And all right, I think we should have that somewhere now. There you go. Chrome is here. Let's try to load it. All right. Okay. We may need to finish up very soon, so let's just try and complete this part. Okay, so let me try. I got it. Let me try to open this. Yep, I think this one is working. Cool, there you go. So we have Grafana set up. We have the Grafana login page, default username and password, admin, very secure. So you have to specify a new password. So in this case, let's just use, wait. Trying to rush into this. Password, change it to training. Submit. It's none here. Okay. So yeah, we're logged in. This is the interface. I think because of the size of our screen, we don't see the whole stuff that you can do here. So I told you earlier that you have you can add multiple dashboards. So you can set that here. Usually have multiple dashboards in the menu. I can add it on the menu here as well. Here, dashboards. And then you can select the ones that shows here. Next we will do is add a data source because this is not complete yet. It's not connected to Influx yet. So to add a data source, we have to go to, you can't see it, data source, and I think here, configuration. Where's my configuration? And because of my screen size, it was a bit hard to see. Do you guys see it? I can't see. Yeah, let's make it bigger. Data sources, but where is it? Configuration. I can't see this board. Under administration. No. Configuration. Yeah, it's hard to full screen. Yeah, still nothing in here. I can maybe try and just load this one. How do I do that? Yeah, it should be in here somewhere, but it's not showing in our case because of the size of the screen. I should be able to launch this part only. Split windows. Let's try that. Okay. I still don't see anything. You see it? This one? No. Not lucky. There should be another strip on the left, actually. I think because of the resolution, that's why we don't see it. I'm hoping that we can maybe just click this and it will show us something. Not lucky. Okay. I'm sorry. In the interest of time, I'm just going to show this one very quickly. So what we were trying to do there is, sorry, let me just combine them together again. And then we go through here. So we are adding a data source. That's the important thing here. And we're choosing, InfluxDB. We already have a list of data sources that are supported. And so we are choosing InfluxDB. We have to add the server configuration, how to reach the InfluxDB. Obviously, it's installed in the same server, so it's localhost, just specifying the URL, the port, and then the name of your InfluxDB server. And database settings, username and password that we set earlier, and save and test. So once we have that, we should see some information, some data, starting to load into our Grafana server. If you have graphs in your dashboard, it should also start populating them now, right? And yeah, basically you still need to modify or customize your dashboard. You have this one. Again, I can't see it here. Or maybe in the dashboard here. There you go. You have something where you can probably add or load. Okay, let's try this one. Sorry, Nan, are we still okay with time? A bit. I'm trying to open a new tab. So this is one of the dashboards that's available. Telegraph system metrics. And what we want is to load this one. Again, I can't find the option to do that because of the screen size. But I think the moment that I change screen, I should be able to see it. But yeah, this is basically loading one of the available templates or dashboards in the system. Okay, and same thing, we're adding InfluxDB as the data source for this one. And that should give us some output. And that's pretty much it. That's what we want to be able to see. I would have loved showing you all these graphs. I think it will be nice. Unfortunately, we are not that lucky with the labs today. Well, so what I'm gonna do after this is when I get back home, I'm going to update the lab guide for this so that we have the complete ones, and hopefully that will work. But for the LibreNMS lab, give me a bit of time. Maybe I'll check with my team if they can try and fix it up quickly. And then you guys can try it next week, hopefully. Anyway, I think that's all the time that we have for this tutorial. I would have liked a nicer outcome here so that we're all happy leaving this tutorial. But the good thing about having virtual labs is, of course, you can run it on your own later on. So for this session, though, I would like to know if there are still any further questions, comments, or suggestions or anything that you want to add or share to the group. Otherwise, when you get a chance, please help me by completing this survey. Maybe now, or maybe when you get a chance, only a couple of minutes to give us an indication of how we are doing these types of sessions. Okay, so if there are no more questions, thank you very much, everybody. I think we need to close up now. Thank you, Nan, for waiting for us. Pass the mic. Thank you, everybody.
So yes, please give a big round of applause to our wonderful instructor. Thank you very much, and for your long-term support to our NOG. So last but not least, we have a token of appreciation to you. So please take a photo. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay.
Thank you. Oh, thanks,
Okay,
Nan.
thank you very much. So that is the end of session ขอบคุณทุกคนนะครับที่อยู่จนถึงจนจบเซสชันเลยนะครับก็ตอนนี้ก็ขอปิดเซสชันรายการเดินทางกลับโดยสวัสดิภาพแล้วก็มีอะไรมีข่าวสารหรือว่ามีการพูดคุยกันก็สามารถติดตามในกลุ่มนะครับทางNOGหรือทาง mailing list หรือว่าทางเว็บไซต์ส่งอีเมลเข้ามาที่กลุ่มก็ได้นะครับถ้ามีปัญหาหรือต้องการความช่วยเหลืออะไรทางกลุ่มของเราก็พร้อมที่จะซัพพอร์ตกันแล้วกันนะครับขอบคุณครับสวัสดีครับ